Now let's focus on the first step. That is where our client wanted us to make some significant changes because the code was not sufficiently robust. Our client did give us two examples of inputs that she wanted handled correctly, but her request is still a little bit unclear, and it would be useful for us to ask clarifying questions. So, for example, on this input, the one that our client suggested, 27th of February 2025. Remember, our client wants us to handle inputs where the month is 02 and 2. But what about the output? Which of those does the client want? I can imagine our client always wanting the month to be 2 letters long. Or I can imagine the client wanting the month to be compressed to a single letter if it is possible to do so every time. Or I can imagine the client wanting us to preserve the format as specified by the input. I don't know which of these the client wants. All the client told us was the inputs should be of both types. Now I could just take a look at the code at step 4, which our client said she was okay with. And there I would realize that here the month is printed as an integer, and if that integer was 2, this would actually evaluate to just 2, so it would look something like this. But now that I've thought about it, maybe I should ask my client anyway. Maybe she will say, oh yes, actually I do need you to change the output format. So this would be a good clarifying question to ask. Similarly, what about this? Now here again, 2802, this is 2025 is not a leap year, so the next date should of course be the 1st. But once again, does the client want 01 or 1? Again, good to check, even if she has validated the code for step 4, good to ask. Several other questions one could ask, and probably there's no end to such questions, right? Here, for example, is an illegal month. I can similarly imagine an illegal day, or perhaps even an illegal year. Perhaps our client only wants this code to work for certain years. What about formats where we don't have slash separating the various fields? This is a very common way of writing it. By the way, what about shorthand for 2025, like just 25? And what about nonsense inputs like A, B, C, which doesn't even correspond to an integer? There's, as I said, a whole bunch of such questions. So once again, I have given you a way to ask the client. Let's go to this link and try out a few experiments, but most of all, I want you to try out several experiments of your own. So here is an example that's already given. This is the 25th of December 2024. We click on code check, and our client tells us that in this case it should return the 26th of December 2024. Let me just change this, for example, to 31st of December. That would be the 1st of January 2025. Our client wants us to write it like 1/1/2025. So that part is confirmed. If the month can be written as a single digit, similarly if the day can be written as a single digit, our client would prefer that to be the output. I can quickly check what would happen if I used a separator like this. Again, this is commonly done. Does our client want us to handle that? No. In that case, our client says we should raise an exception. We haven't yet seen how to raise an exception, but we will shortly. And the specific exception that our client wants us to raise is also given. So experiment with this, please, and understand what the client really wants.